In this lesson, we are going to add outdoor elements at the bottom of our buildings. And we will also add the commercial windows onto the taller commercial buildings. Let us go into our building instances. Node group. You can see I have just cleaned this up a bit since we last worked on it. Let us make a bit more space between our attributes section and the mesh to points, a node. Now, what we want to do is separate out parts of our geometry that we can use as faces for the doors. Let us view the mesh and enable wireframe so we can see it clearly. We want to isolate only those faces that are on the bottom floor of the building. Of course, we do not want doors floating 3 stories above the ground. That would be a health and safety nightmare. To do this, we are going to use a position node and then separate the result into X, Y, and Z values. We are going to work specifically with the Z value. Then we will bring in an attribute statistic, a node. We connect our geometry into this node, and the Z value goes into the attribute input. We can change this attribute input to a vector if we want. We will evaluate this attribute on the face domain. That gives us a range of statistical outputs, such as mean, median, minimum, maximum, total, and standard deviation. In our case, we are interested in the minimum. We can now say that when a face's Z value is equal to the minimum Z on the mesh, we want to select it. Let us tidy up the node a bit by enabling only the needed options using Control H. Now we have a Boolean value, and if we preview this on the face domain, it shows a selection of only the faces on the lowest level of the buildings. But we do not want doors on every one of those bottom faces. We want the placement to be a bit more random. To do that, we add a random value, node set to Boolean, and use a Boolean math operation to combine it with our bottom face selection. We can use an AND operation, so it only selects faces that are both on the bottom and match the random condition. Now we have both a probability and seed value for controlling which faces become door spots. This is something we can bring outside the node group and expose in the modifier. So let us add a group input node and connect the probability input. I will leave the seed value for now, but you can expose that too, if needed. Let us call this input doors amount. Now we can exit the group, and we will add this slider to our modifier panel. Like before, it will jump to the top, but we will move it down into the building settings as section, so everything stays organized. We will make sure it is a single value and give it an example value. Let us say 25. Let us go back into our building. Instance is group. We now have our Boolean value, which we will use in a separate geometry. Node to separate the faces. Drop this over the top and connect our selection into the selection input. Now, when we preview this, all of the instances are being placed only on those door faces. But currently, these are still window elements. We do not want to instance windows where doors should be. So we actually want to use the inverted selection. We will plug that into our mesh to points node instead. Now we are instancing windows on our buildings, but with gaps left where the doors will go. All we need to do is duplicate the mesh to points, the separate elements, and everything through to the instance on points, a node. Move this group of nodes upward. We will connect the output of our door face selection from separate geometry into the new mesh to points, a node. Let us join the geometry together using a join geometry node. We also need to plug the index back into the ID input of the duplicated separate elements, a node. So let us add a reroute and connect it. The final step is to change the collection from the window set to a door set. In this case, we will type in door set residential. Now we have doors added to our buildings. We can add more of them or fewer of them, depending on how we want the distribution to look. To add the commercial buildings, we are going to do something very similar. If you remember, when we stored our attributes earlier, we included a Boolean attribute called commercial. So what we can do now is add a reroute between the attributes and the separate geometry a node used for the door selection. Then we duplicate this separate geometry, a node. This time, we will separate by named attribute. We may need to make a bit more space here to work. We set the input type to named attribute and type in commercial. Plug this into the selection input. Now these selected elements are our commercial buildings. We will send the inverse of this selection back into the original reroute. This will leave us with only residential buildings in that path. Now we are going to take everything we built so far, including the nodes used to handle door selection, and duplicate all of it again. Use Shift-D to duplicate the full chain of nodes, all the way up. Yes, the node group is getting quite large now, but that is all right. We then connect the new selection output for commercial buildings into the duplicated structure. Let us rearrange it slightly so everything stays readable. For the commercial buildings, I do not think we need to randomize the doors. We probably want all of the bottom row of faces to become doors. So we can delete the random value node and the Boolean math node used in that part of the residential logic. Let us move these nodes to the side. We connect the index like we did earlier. Next, we add a join geometry. Nodes to combine them. Then add another join geometry. Node to bring back the commercial buildings. All we need to do now is update the element collection. Set it to door set commercial. And change the window collection to window set commercial. And finally, for this node group, I want to add a geometry to instance, a node. That is because right now, we have over 5,000 instance is being generated since each of these windows is counted as a separate instance. But what I actually want is for each building to be counted as one instance. So, I will add a geometry to instance node and place it right at the end. Now, when we check, we can see the instance count is down to 25. That is much more manageable. In the next lesson, we will begin adding roofs to the tops of our buildings. After that, we will also finalize the parks. Once both of those are done, we will be very close to finishing the city generator. We are now on the home stretch.